everybody, welcome to Zoe's Treasures. My name's Tracy, here with my husband Noel. And thank you guys for being here on a Friday night. We are going to talk some taxes tonight. We'll keep it light. We're not going to get too deep and heavy for a Friday night. Hello, Southern Charm. Much shorter intro, yes. Hey, Forgotten Memories. Hello, Emerald. Emerald Edit, hello. So we're going to talk sales tax tonight, but we're going to keep it really high level. But before we get there, if you have any questions throughout about anything, taxes, accounting, seller support. So I set these shows up as tax talks, but they're tax talks, seller support. Happy to answer any questions that you throw out there. And if I can't, there's a lot of other smart people in the chat that probably can. So feel free at any time to put your questions in there or your thoughts. And let's see, this morning we talked about, if you missed it, our business show this morning, we talked about live selling as a long-term business model, looking at that longevity of your business. What are the things we need to focus on now to make sure we're here for the future? We're going to kind of continue that theme tonight. So you'll see some, not same information, but how it connects, understanding sales tax, understanding compliance for sales tax, just making sure that we're on the up and up and we're doing things correctly so that we don't get in trouble and our businesses will last for a long time. Yes, I love discounts. Absolutely. Yes. So we're going to keep it high level. Real quick though, tomorrow is Warm Embrace. You guys, everything behind me is going to be in the show tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I'm going to have some stuff listed tonight. So there'll be about 25 items listed, but you can pre-bid, get a good idea. But everything that you're seeing are all the random polls. So if you see something that interests you, come back tomorrow morning. We got some really good banger items. I know some people hate that word, but we really do have some nice stuff coming up tomorrow. All right, let's talk about sales tax. This may be a shorter show. We'll see how it goes. It's really just dependent on the conversation and the questions.
That's a negative. I love discounts.
I love discounts. Negative. Congratulations. That is so awesome. What podcast are you getting interviewed on? Go ahead and share it. Unless it's somebody I don't like, then don't tell me. So we're waiting to see. Waiting to see. Oh, I like Jack's Treasures. We're cool. Okay. Well, let us know when it's going to air so we can go and watch you on there. Okay, you guys. Sales tax. Very high level. The first thing I want to do is to really, really stress here. We're not getting into nitty-gritty details. You're going to find out the very first point is that sales tax is separate rules in every single state. So there is no way in this world that I would know every single rule for every single state. We're going to talk about the generalities, the main concepts, and the few facts that as a business owner, you should really be aware of. And that's where we're going to focus. Whatnot, and the other thing to set your mind at ease, Whatnot handles our sales tax. So if you only sell here on Whatnot, sales tax isn't a concern for you. I still think it's important. You still should know some of the common terminology. You still should understand it. We're going to get into why you should understand it, but you don't have to worry about collecting it. Whatnot does handle our sales tax here. So when we talk taxes, I see a lot of questions come through over the course of a year. You have federal income tax. That's your withholding tax. That's your federal income tax. You have state taxes. Certain states, all but like 5 states, have state taxes. Sometimes there's locality taxes. Where I'm at in Pennsylvania, we have a locality tax we have to pay. Then you have sales tax. Sales tax is handled by the state. It's not any of those others. It's something that's completely separate, charged on every transaction. Some states have exceptions for food products or other type of products, but in general, when you buy something, you pay sales tax. When you sell something, you should be charging sales tax. You all know that Whatnot charges a sales tax for us. They collect it for us. We still need to understand what's going on. We're going to get into why. Why do we need to understand that? Some of the other reasons why you might want to understand sales tax, as a business owner, you don't need to be an expert, but you need to have some general knowledge. If you have an antique, a booth in an antique mall, if you sell at craft fairs, if you do flea markets, those are all places that have to follow the same rules, and not all of those places collect and remit for you. So as a business owner, having some basic understanding is really vital to your reselling business. Crystal's Vintage Collection, thank you so much for bringing your friends over here. I appreciate you.
Welcome in, Raiders. Glad you can join us on this business and tax discussion.
Crystals, thank you so much. I'm going to tell the chat a little bit about you, but please feel free, who you are, what you do, what you sell, when you're on, all those good things, put that in there so they can tag you and follow you if they like what they read. But y'all, Crystal's Vintage Collection, she is an amazing person. She is actually one of our CEO Season 2 participants, so you're going to see a lot of her during the month of July if you come and follow along with our CEO Challenge. She is also a good vintage seller, and she is super smart when it comes to CSV trading. If you don't know how to do CSV, y'all are missing out. You need to go to my girl Crystal over there and learn how to do it. Okay, so I just said a minute ago, sales tax rules vary by state, okay? So there's not one rule. It's not like federal income tax that we have the IRS, we know what the rule is. There are 52 different sets of rules here that we're dealing with. There is not one person who is going to know all 52. Now, they have people that specialize in it, computer programs, a lot of information. But I can't sit here and tell you the sales tax rules for Idaho or Wisconsin or California. I could talk a little bit about Pennsylvania because I live here and I know that one. I could talk about Florida because I worked in Florida, lived there for 20-something years. But there is no way that where you're going to know all of them. What you need to do is focus on the sales tax for your state. We're going to talk about what that's called. So 52 different sets of rules we're looking at. Don't let that freak you out. It's not that big of a deal. But there's different rates, different exemptions, different thresholds, different deadlines. So when you're in a chat show and somebody says, well, my accountant said this about our sales tax and blah, 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 blah. Well, good for you and your accountant. It doesn't matter to me if you're not in my state, right? So be careful when we're hearing other things in particular to sales tax, particularly because we are Whatnot, and in every show you've got people from all over the country, if not different parts of the world. So somebody could be talking, then they're from Tennessee and you're from Wisconsin. They're not the same rules. Think about it like this, just an easy way to remember this is like driver's license. Has anybody ever moved from one state to another? Driver's license, vehicle registrations are very different from state to state to state. All the states have them. You need a driver's license in all 52 states, but not all 52 states have the same process to get that license. For instance, in Florida, you get a permit when you're 15. My daughter was so excited, she thought she was going to get her permit. We come to Pennsylvania, it's 16, so she has to wait a whole nother year. So that's kind of the same with sales tax. Same, there are, in essence, the same, but the specifications are different. Quick question for you guys. Off the top of your head, if you had to guess, how many states have you shipped to? I'm probably hitting close to 52. Maybe not all 52. Let's go 50. I don't know if I've ever shipped to Alaska. How many states do you think you have shipped to in the United States? There's no states that are not in the United States. How many different states? 7? Anybody else have a number that they think they've shipped to? The longer you're on, the more and more states you get. Think about this. If a lot and Canada, yep. I know on other platforms I've shipped a ton to like the UK. Once on Whatnot, once or twice I've shipped to Australia on Whatnot. So if every state has different rules, then who's actually collecting all of this? Think about that. Thank goodness Whatnot does this for us, because if you had to know the rules for all the states you ship to, I would be out of the reselling business. I wouldn't even go into it at that point. That's even being a CPA. I'm like, nope, I don't want no part of that, right? So we already said Whatnot collects this. Most of the platforms pretty much collect your sales tax for you. I know for a fact Etsy, eBay, Mercari does. I haven't had much experience on the other websites. I'm trying to think if there's other ones I've been on. Most of your reselling platforms collect your sales tax for you. So that's a huge benefit to us. Imagine if you had to calculate sales tax every single time you sent something to a different state, if you had to calculate the tax and figure out how to remit it to that state. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. It would be absolute chaos, wouldn't it? So thankfully, the marketplaces do it for us. This is part of what our 8% pays for. A lot of people want to complain about Whatnot's 8% fee. Part of that 8% pays for the people to collect that sales tax on every transaction, understand the laws, understand where it goes and how to process it, and remit it on your behalf. We could probably have lower fees, but things like that would end up being our duty, and nobody wants to do that. So why is it important to you to even understand sales tax? If you're like, Whatnot handles this for me, why do I need to know? You still need to understand it, what the platform is collecting exactly. Like, what are they doing? What are they collecting? Where do they collect it? What sales do they collect it on? And what happens if you're on different platforms? Do the rules work the same on every single platform? What happens if you sell at a flea market? So this is why you have to understand it, is knowing what's going on in the background. Do you guys know your 2.9% fee is calculated on sales tax? Y'all knew that, right? Everybody's aware of that. So it's important for us to understand as sellers, what is Whatnot charging for sales tax? What are they collecting? Because part of my fees are based on that sales tax. So absolutely, yes, I want to know what's happening. Do I need to be an expert and know every single detail? Not at all. But I do need some understanding if I want to make sure that I'm not getting ripped off on my fees, right? I do not an accuracy check, but a reasonableness check on my fees to make sure my fees are in line with what I expect them to be, just as everybody else should be doing. So when we think about sales tax, does anybody here throw something in the chat if you sell at, like, you have a booth, or you do local like craft events or like flea market events, or if you sell on Facebook? Throw something in the chat if any of those apply to you. So we have a couple of people that are like, yep. And there's a lot of us that sell on Facebook. Got called to, oh no, 800 ounces. Oh my goodness. I hope you got that fixed, Forgotten Memories, because that would be crazy expensive. Well, what is that, 10 pounds? eBay, Whatnot, Etsy, with a booth too. But you do sell your work at events. All right. So all of these places are places that charge sales tax. Not all of them collect it for you. You need to be aware of what's happening with your state. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked through your Whatnot reports to see what they charge for sales tax? It's not super easy. They don't like put it out there for you. Whatnot kind of takes the approach of, hey, you don't really need to know this a whole lot, but it's there. Southern Charm's like, yep, same here. It's something that I keep my eye on. Do I do a lot of calculations? Do I really stress on it? No. Do I just be aware of it? Yes. So let's talk about, when we're talking about antique malls, booths, Facebook, is it on the financial statement, the monthly one? No. Off the top of my head, I want to say no. It is on the weekly reports, the download, like the CSV download that you can get. That's where it shows. It's shown on the individual orders. Obviously, you click on the order and gives you all your order details. I want to say it's on the weekly report off the top of my head. I usually, where I kind of preview it is I'll spot check orders. Every single week when I'm going through orders, I'll spot check certain orders and I'll just look at how are they calculating the fees? Are those correct? What are they doing on shipping? So I don't dig into every single order, but I will spot check orders and just making sure that, hey, nothing's changed. I still understand it's exactly what I expected it to be. And I always see it there for sure. Okay, we're going to talk about Nexus. Now, this is a big fancy word in sales tax land, but it's really important to, particularly for those of you who sell at craft fairs, flea markets, other places such as that, where you're like setting up a booth of some sort, or even Facebook. Facebook does not collect taxes for you. Most people didn't know that. Most people don't even think about sales tax when it comes to Facebook. You should be collecting sales tax on Facebook. A lot of it goes undercover, nobody really stresses too much on it. But if you are really doing business on there, if you're just selling your dining room table, no big deal. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're legit doing business on there, you have everything listed here on Whatnot, you got stuff on eBay, you're listing on Facebook, and this is a revenue stream in your business, you need to pay attention to sales tax. Those are the people that are actually doing it as part of their business that are going to end up getting their hands slapped and getting in trouble if they're not doing it right. The guy selling his dining room set or that motorcycle helmet that he doesn't use anymore, those aren't the ones they're going to go after. They're going to go after the ones that are continually doing business over and over again. So let's talk about Nexus, because that becomes really important in particularly cases like Facebook. So Nexus simply means connection. Okay, so you're going to hear this word Nexus a lot. And we're looking at if your business has enough of a connection to a specific state, then you need to pay attention to those sales tax rules in that state. There's two types of nexus. when we talk sales tax. The first one is a physical nexus. That means this is the easiest one. Physically, where are you doing business at? And most of us, it's out of our home. So what state is your home in? Where are you storing your inventory, selling your inventory, and shipping your inventory from? That's your nexus. That's your physical nexus, wherever your physical presence is. If it's not your home, it could be your warehouse if you're somebody who works out of a warehouse. So that's physical nexus. I'm in the state of Pennsylvania. My physical nexus is the state of Pennsylvania. Means I should understand Pennsylvania sales tax laws because they would affect me if I'm selling on Facebook as a business, if I'm going to craft fairs or setting up booths at events, that type of thing. Okay. The other type of nexus is called economic nexus. This is where e-commerce comes in. Economic nexus used to never even exist. It wasn't a thing until eBay and all of the e-commerce started coming in, and the states started saying, hey, wait a minute, because let's think back. Think about how the world used to operate. You didn't really sell across state lines a whole lot, right? There were some. I mean, I'm not saying there was never any interstate transactions going on, but for most of the population, a store was located in a state. They did all of their business within that state. Then as things go on, innovation happens, the world starts growing and changing, right? We start having mail order. Kind of started changing some of the laws. Then the e-commerce came along, and now any store, instead of just a grocery store in Pennsylvania, southern Pennsylvania, that grocery store may be selling to its physical customers there, but it may be shipping its local product all around the country, if not world. Now we've opened up this whole new thing, and the state's like, hey, now it's a lot harder to get my money. I want to make sure I'm getting the money. The other states are like, hey, you're doing business in my state. I want my share of that sales tax. And all the states started clamoring and fighting with each other, saying, we want our cut. That's where economic nexus came from. So economic nexus looks at how much business you do in another state. Some of you are sitting there saying, Tracy, I don't ship to other states. Whatnot handles that? I don't need to worry about it. Maybe not. Maybe not. Think about where you're located at. And it's different for all of us. You have to worry about that when you start selling in other states. And I'm going to give you an example. I live in Pennsylvania, but I am 10 minutes from the Maryland border. 10 minutes from the Maryland border. I don't do booths, but let's just say I do like craft fairs or something. If I set up and go to craft fairs in Maryland because it's 30 minutes down the road from me, if I do enough business in Maryland, there's a good chance that I should be collecting and remitting sales tax to the state of Maryland because of economic nexus, even though I'm here in Pennsylvania. Or maybe you're doing your business, you're selling stuff on Whatnot, and you decide, hey, I'm going to open up my website. I'm going to create my own website, and I'm going to start selling. And all of a sudden, you get people from Maryland and California and Texas, and all of these orders are pouring in, and you're getting bigger and bigger, and you're shipping all over the country, not through Whatnot, but from your website. Now you have just opened yourself up to economic nexus. Now you need to understand what sales tax you need to remit to these other states. Let's go back to the very first thing we said. Every state has different rules, okay? 52 different rules. Every state has different rules. Every state has different thresholds on when you would need to collect and remit sales tax for that state. Generally, okay, so don't take this as a hard and fast rule. This is generally. Most states are around, if you do 100,000 in sales and or 200 transactions within our state, you have now created economic nexus within my state and you owe me sales tax. Right now, for a lot of us, we're like, hey, I don't even make 100,000 on Whatnot. I sure as hell don't need to worry about that. But that's today. What about next year or the year after that? So it's not that you have to like stress and worry. I'm not doing the show to like, oh no, fire alarm, get worried. It's just to bring awareness to say, hey, this exists. If I grow big enough, and it can happen quickly, you can just hit that right thing and just your business take off, right? And you start doing business such as 100,000 isn't really a hard number to get to. I mean, it's not really that hard to do 100,000 of sales in another state. That's where you have to start thinking about economic nexus. I want to kind of make this really kind of clear. So I want you to think of a tree and the difference between physical nexus, where we are in your state, and economic nexus. So think of a tree that's planted You plant it in your state. That's your physical nexus. It has roots. I'm planted here in my state. I have Pennsylvania physical nexus. But as that tree grows, the tree representing your business, that business grows, those roots start spreading out further and further and further. The bigger the tree gets, the more those roots usually spread out. Once those roots start touching other states and start becoming, hitting the thresholds in the other states, now you've moved into economic nexus. Those roots are now giving connections to other states. I'm first to say I started reselling from my personal stuff when life selling became popular, and it turned into a business. And it's surprising at the speed at which that happens, right? You can go from saying, oh, I'm going to do this as just a hobby and do this just to get a little bit of side money, and 3 months later you're like, dang, this is making some significant money. You're making plans for the future, and all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're like, I'm a real business owner. Hello, welcome in. Thank you for coming here. So once you understand the concept of nexus, then at least that brings you the awareness. That makes you like, okay, I understand I'm planted here in my home state. I need to understand my home state first before anything else. I'm not saying you need to go and learn all 52 states. That's impossible. Don't do it. Understand your home state, how it affects you. And then as your business grows, like as that tree grows and those roots start branching out, have the awareness that economic nexus exists. And maybe at that time when you start seeing, hey, I'm shipping orders to a lot of different states through my website, or I'm starting to travel the country and doing work in other states, either setting up booths or doing whatever it is, I may need to talk to my CPA about economic nexus just to make sure that I address this before it becomes an issue for me, right? So that kind of brings us into the awareness. Understanding that, having that awareness, hey, this exists. I'm not going to panic. I don't need to get worried. But understanding that it exists will prevent any surprises from happening in the future. We already talked about it. Tabitha says, hey, I started as selling my personal stuff and went from a hobby to a business. This is worst case scenario. You're doing this as a hobby. A couple months in, you're like, hey, this is a business. This is going really great. You keep going. You have a fantastic year. You start a website. You start selling all over the country. You don't think about it. And 2 years later, you get a bunch of notices that you owe a whole lot of money. We don't want that to happen. That's why we want to be aware. So it's really about awareness and understanding that this exists. And as you grow, asking those right questions, surrounding yourself with the professionals that can help you manage it. Sales tax at that level, at whatnot level, sales tax at whatnot level, that is probably like a team of people. There's probably at least 2 or 3 people, if not more, that do nothing but focus and remit sales tax, that is their job. I don't know for sure. I'm just basing that off of my CPA experience in other businesses of that size. There is probably a department and a team that focuses on handling that for all of us sellers, remitting that to all the various states. So when we start doing our businesses, a lot of times, these aren't things we think about. You don't go, oh yeah, if not more, probably. I'm thinking like 2 or 3. With technology nowadays, teams are a little bit smaller than we used to see a while back. But yeah, particularly at the amount of business, at the billions that Whatnot is doing. So when we go into business because we love doing what we sell, pretty much. I like vintage decor, I'm selling vintage decor, or I just like to make money, so I'm going to sell whatever I can find and flip and make money. You usually don't go into it because you want to know all about sales tax or federal tax or accounting. That's like, I don't want to do that stuff. So when something happens, when you get a tax notice, when you break a rule, a tax rule, you usually don't do it on purpose. You usually do it out of ignorance, and not in a bad ignorance. You don't know what you don't know type of ignorance. So that's why I'm so big on, at least let's be aware. At least let's talk about physical nexus, economic nexus. Let's talk about some of these terms. Let's understand how sales tax works, who collects it, who remits it, that there are 52 states. So it's really just bringing an awareness so that when this happens, I can go and ask the right people the right questions to make sure that I'm not getting in trouble as I move down the road. Because getting in trouble with any type of tax is totally preventable, because you have whole professions, whole CPA professions out there to help you stay out of trouble, as long as you know when to say, hey, I'm growing, I need some help over here. That's a superpower. In case you didn't know, asking for help is a massive superpower in your business. You as a business owner are not expected to know everything. Remember the days when we didn't have to pay sales tax for all? Yeah, there was a time when and that's when economic nexus, that's when all the states started saying, hey, I want my cut of this. You can't just be sending stuff over state lines and doing all your business over here and avoiding sales tax. It was kind of a loophole for a while. I don't really want to say loophole, but it was just growth and evolution of business that, that used to not happen. It used to be very hard to do interstate commerce. And now it's nothing. Look, we go on whatnot. How many different states have we sold to already, right? So understanding that our platform collects it, we know whatnot collects it for us, but know what you're responsible for. So know that, okay, whatnot, cool, I got it, I don't need to worry. eBay, I don't need to worry. If I have my own website, if I do a booth, I may need to start thinking about this. Now there are, if you set up websites like through Shopify, some of those platforms will handle sales tax for you, but this is something to keep in mind. It's like, hey, I want to create a website. Everybody and their brother, I've got my website. Everybody and their brother is creating websites now. They're selling stuff on their websites. So that's one thing you may want to think about if you're setting up a website or you're setting up any type of storefront on a website, particularly with Whatnot's Shopify integration. Does this platform, whatever platform it is that's helping you with the website, handle my sales tax for me? Or is that something now I need to consider? Because think about this. If it's just you doing business the same as you do on Whatnot and now you create a website, if that's not handled for you already as part of that platform, that becomes another business expense because you're not going to want to have to do that yourself. So now that becomes more expensive to hire a CPA or an accountant that focuses on that. So these are considerations that as business owners, I don't need to know all the ins and outs. I'm not a sales tax expert. As a CPA, that's not my area of expertise whatsoever. My area of expertise is federal and state taxes, not sales tax. I know enough. I know enough to be educated, to go and ask questions when I need to call a colleague and say, hey, you specialize in SALT, that's state and local tax. I need your help on this. So understand what the reporting requirements are. So here's the other side, the side I haven't talked about yet with you guys. This is the side of sales tax exemptions. Now on Whatnot, this really does affect us. A lot of us, and I get questions on this, and I know you guys have seen it in other chats, is people ask, hey, can I get a sales tax exempt? Can I get a sales tax certificate so I don't have to pay sales tax on the purchases that I'm buying to sell to somebody else? This is all kind of in that sales tax land, right? It's different than you collecting and remitting, but it's about you are considered the middleman. It doesn't make sense for you to go and buy something, pay sales tax, to sell it to somebody else for them to pay sales tax. Maybe then they're a reseller for them to resell it and pay sales tax. Think about how many times sales tax is paid on the exact same product over and over and over and over again. It would blow your mind. Think about something that's 40 years old and how many times it's been resold with sales tax being paid every single time. That's a huge business for the states, right? So us as resellers, we can go to our state and we can say, hey, I'm a reseller. I buy things to resell to other people. I don't want to pay taxes on those. And you apply for a tax exempt certificate, a reseller certificate. Another thing, every state has their different rules on that. In the state of Pennsylvania, they have two different types of resale certificates. One that goes along with me remitting, where I'm collecting and remitting. So I can get a certificate where that says, hey, I sell in booths. I also do this. Part of what I do is have to remit to you. They also have another one in Pennsylvania that I'm like, I'm not doing these other things. I do not remit sales tax, but I am a reseller that I sell on these other platforms, and it's less of a burden. No, I don't know other states that have that. I know Florida didn't, Georgia didn't have that exact same setup. So it depends. All the laws on the sales tax exempt and what certificate you get is state dependent. But it allows us to go ahead and get that certificate so that we don't have to continue to pay sales tax when it pretty much passes the sales tax hopefully to the end user of the product versus the middleman of the product. But depending on your state, you may be required when you have that sales tax certificate to remit quarterly returns to them, quarterly returns to your state. Sometimes it's an annual return. Some states don't require any returns. that is on you to understand what does your state require. I'm not 100% positive on this, and I almost don't want to say it because I'm not 100% sure. But I've heard multiple people in Texas talk about how they have to remit quarterly, even if they make no sales, that they still have to fill out the form or do it electronically and do a reporting on a quarterly basis. So really understanding your state when it comes to you as a reseller. Is that true for Georgia also, that you have to? Okay. That you have to do. See, Florida, I don't remember having to do that unless it's changed. It's been years for me in Florida, though. I was a good 15, 20 years ago for me in Florida. So now in Pennsylvania, I don't have to do that. They have two different types of certificates, so it depends on which one you get. Now, I messed up and got the wrong one when I first came to Pennsylvania. You can switch to the annual. Okay, that's cool. That makes it easier when it's annual. So really understanding the laws of your state is what's important here as a reseller. And not just about collecting, like just being on Whatnot, even if you just want to be on Whatnot and you want to get your sales tax or your reseller certificate. This is where compliance comes in. So this is when we start talking about compliance. If you were in the show this morning, we talked about longevity, having your business last for a long time, having your business last into the future is far different than just having a mindset for today and doing a show today. Compliance supports longevity. So everything circles back to the same idea, is building something that lasts. So sales tax compliance is not exciting. It is not fun. But if you don't do it, you don't report correctly, it could drastically affect your business and the longevity of your business. It's not even worth it. Do it right. It would be equivalent to not filing federal tax returns. So if you can't do your business and never file your federal tax returns, it will end up drastically affecting your business in one way, shape, or another. Same thing with your sales tax compliance. So really understanding what those rules are for where you live. One of my favorite things to see, and this is slightly, it's not really off topic because it ties to the compliance, but one of my favorite things to see is when I see sellers stop operating their business out of fear. And when we talk about taxes, that's a huge fear that a lot of business owners have. So when I see business owners stop being afraid of taxes, that gaining the knowledge, understanding our compliance requirements really removes the fear in something. So when I see business owners not being afraid of taxes or not being afraid of bookkeeping or not being afraid to grow or to take risk or chances that are reasonable within their business realm, that becomes really exciting. It becomes really exciting to watch the systems they build and the decisions they make, that where it used to be based out of fear is now based out of knowledge. And that's kind of where we're getting to today with the awareness and understanding the compliance, is being able to make decisions out of a point of knowledge and awareness and not fear. Because when you start approaching things from a sense of knowledge, it's like a whole world opens up. It's like, okay, I know enough about this topic to go and ask for help or to do this, instead of, oh, I don't know anything about sales tax. I'm not going to apply for a resale certificate. I'm not going to do this. I'm too afraid to do it. And it holds you back. So the more awareness and the more knowledge you get, the more growth opportunities open up to you. And that's why I get so excited when I see people come to these shows on Friday nights. It's like, wow, here's some people like that are, want to learn a little bit about something or open their minds or ask questions. So it really makes me excited to watch when that happens, when the fear is replaced with knowledge. And I don't have a whole lot. That's really all there is on sales tax. Again, I'm not going to go into every single state. There's no way. I really wanted to recap and go over what is Nexus, because that's really important. Understanding that we have 52 different ways of doing this. There may be states that are similar to each other, but it's really important to understand your state, the compliance with your state, work within your state, and then know when to ask for help. Know when you start reaching out into other states, that's when you may need to start hiring help for that. I want you to really think, kind of connecting it to this morning and the longevity side of this, is your short-term sellers only focus on today. Okay, short-term sellers, I'm here for gig work. I just want an extra, couple $100 in my bank account. They're focused on today. They're focused on the show that's going to happen today or the show that's going to happen tomorrow. Long-term business owners, they're focused on the show today, but they're also focused on decisions that are going to help them build for the future. So when we think about that, you may be sitting here going, I'm never going to have a website and sell to all these different places. I'm just going to sell on Whatnot. That may be true, but it may not be. You may wake up 6 months or a year from now and be in a completely different spot. That's why it's so important to understand some of the concepts whenever you can, when you have that chance to learn a little bit about it. I didn't, ask me 6 months ago where I was, and I was completely in a different spot thinking things were, I was going to be going down and selling jewelry and doing this, that, and the other thing. Here I am 6 months later, I'm like, that is not at all where I'm going, right? So your businesses can change just as fast as life can change. So just kind of understanding that and setting yourself up, even if something doesn't affect you right now, understanding, gaining knowledge, learning, well, it can affect you in the business and open up opportunities and growth that you may not even have ever imagined for yourself in the future. So that's really all I had today, you guys. I didn't have a long show. Just had these thoughts on sales tax. Do you guys have, if there are any questions? If not, we're going to rate out. We're going to just kind of make this a quick show tonight. I didn't even run giveaways. I do have a guide here that does talk about sales tax. Really, it talks a lot about what we just talked about. It's a 2 or 3 pager. I am on YouTube. You can always go back and watch this at any time for free. You don't need to buy anything to rewatch. And all of our tax shows, usually I do the tax, we're on for like an hour and a half or so, talking about a deep tax topic. Sales tax is more of an awareness topic since Whatnot does handle it for us. So I just really wanted to make people aware of some of that terminology that you just really should understand as a business owner, particularly because a lot of us don't just do Whatnot. We do Whatnot, we have antique booths, we do craft fairs, we do a lot of other stuff. Whatnot is usually just one revenue stream in a larger business plan. And it's not something, sales tax is not something a lot of people are going to talk about just as a daily topic. There's a lot of other business topics that you hear frequently discussed. Sales tax is not one of them. If selling on here is going to be new for next tax season, what key info would I need to give to your tax person? Great question. So is it Jess? I said T Jess, I'm going to go with Jess. So you should be accumulating your accounting information on a regular basis for a couple things here. We look at accounting and taxes. So accounting is your day-to-day bookkeeping. It's keeping track of your revenue, your expenses, your inventory, so that you as a business owner can make really good decisions. So you should be doing that regardless of taxes. Taxes is an afterthought. Never do something just for taxes, okay? As businesses, we should be monitoring our revenue on a regular basis, all of our expenses. So any money, anything that is ordinary and necessary for you to operate your business could be considered a business expense. So keeping track of all your business expenses and then keeping track of your inventory. When I say inventory, there's a couple of really important things you need to be tracking. Where you're starting from. If you're brand new, you start at 0. You have no inventory. So what are you buying? What are you selling? And what do you have left at the end? Those are the 3 most important things to keep track of in inventory. You don't need to do it piece by piece. You can do it in lots or on averages. So revenue, expenses, inventory. Those are the main things you need to track as a business owner, and so you can make good financial decisions. Then at the end of the year, as long as you're tracking all of that all year long, you already have everything you need to give to your tax preparer. You take everything you've been tracking and you give it to your tax preparer. And when you talk about tracking it, you track it in any way that works for you, something you're going to do consistently week after week after week. Whether that be writing it down on a pen, with pen and paper, taking a notebook and saying, okay, here's my mileage log. I'm going to write down all of my mileage. Here's my revenue. Every time I make money, I'm going to say, here's the date, here's what I sold, here's the money I made. Every time I buy shipping supplies, I'm going to say, have a page for shipping supplies. I'm going to note down the date, what I paid, who I paid it to for shipping supplies, if I bought it at Sam's Club or the Boxery or Walmart or wherever it is. So you keeping track of it or using an accounting system like Reseller Genie or QuickBooks or anything in between. Whatever is going to work for you to do that consistently week after week after week, you do that and you will not have to worry about taxes at the end of the year. You will have everything you need. So January comes, you gather it all, you take it to your tax preparer, and you're good as gold at that point. A lot of people will start businesses and they think all financial stuff they think is taxes. Taxes is the afterthought. Taxes is compliance. That's just something we do once a year. But we're business owners, and the money coming into your business is the lifeblood of your business. That's why you're here, right? Reseller Genie is an accounting program written actually by a reseller. I have never used it. I can't vouch for any. As a CPA, I will never recommend any one system over another. I have heard good and bad about it, same as QuickBooks. I've heard good and bad about QuickBooks. Those are probably the two most popular accounting programs out there. There are other accounting programs. If you Google accounting software, you're probably going to come up with a whole big list. Reseller Genie and QuickBooks are probably the top two that you're going to hear about most. Those are why I always use them as examples, because they're just the most popular ones. I think it was actually a Whatnot person who made Reseller Genie. Again, I've heard good and bad things. It really depends on what type of person are you. How do you like to do it? As a CPA, I actually found QuickBooks to be overkill. My business I didn't need all the stuff that QuickBooks had to offer. I use Excel. I think Excel works perfect for me, but Excel might not work perfect for you. You may be like, I don't like spreadsheets. I'd rather do this over here. And that's what's important, is finding that system that you're going to use week after week after week, because consistency is better than perfection. You doing it on a regular basis is far better than you doing it perfectly all the time. And as long as you're doing it, it gives you data, gives you something to look at, something to make decisions off of, something to do projections with. And then again, I get to the end of the year, we have this silly little form we got to send to the IRS, at least throughout the whole year. Now I'm ready to send you your form. And it makes it super easy, and you don't have to stress about taxes. All right, with that, if there are no other questions, you guys, tonight's going to be a short show. We usually go a lot longer. If you missed it, tomorrow morning is my Warm Embrace show. Do I do Excel only or use CSV? I do Excel only for my financial data, for keeping track of all my records, but I use a CSV file to upload items into Whatnot. So when I pre-list, such as tomorrow morning, I have like 25 items, I use CSV. If you have never used a CSV file to upload, you're missing out in life. Quick poll of who's here, who uses CSV to upload if you do a pre-listing. If you're a pre-list person, do you use CSV? One, yes, Crystal, of course you do. If you don't, first of all, why? It's amazing. It's going to save you. Does CSV better with Gmail? So it has nothing to do with the mail. CSV is like a spreadsheet that you download. They have a template and Whatnot. You download the template for preloading. Yes, to preload, to list your items, to put them in the marketplace. He's going to show you. Hold on.
So the CSV, when you click the link, what it'll do is by default will take you to a Google Sheet. The Google Sheet is just a way to open the file. You do not have to open the file on Google Sheet. You can download the file and open it in Excel if you have a Microsoft subscription. Otherwise, you will need a spreadsheet reader to be able to open the files. So Google Sheet is an option.
There you go. That's my tech guy over there. That's the hubby. He knows all the techie stuff. If you want to learn CSV, honestly, Crystal's Vintage Collection right there, she does CSV training shows. She'll walk you through step by step. There are people who sell subscriptions to services to upload your items. Honestly, I have to say I've seen 2 different ones demoed. Both of the ones that I have seen demoed work off a CSV file. Why are you doing all the extra work when you can just do a CSV file? So I've seen 2 sellers on here that sell like subscription-based services that help you like list all your stuff. I think they're overkill. I think they're like, I have a CSV file. This is so much easier. I can easily do 25 items in like, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe, not counting cleaning them and all that stuff, but just taking pictures and uploading them. It does make life incredibly easy. to pre-list or to load stuff into the marketplace or your inventory whatsoever. So she does a really great job at tutorials. Just speaking of, before we go, I need to do a plug for our CEO challenge. Since Crystal, she is one of our CEO participants, we have our CEO challenge coming up. Our showcase is on Monday night, starting at 6 o'clock. I think it's 6 o'clock Monday night. Our CEO challenge is where we have 8 participants and they work on building their business. They have to face a different business challenge every single week. Monday night's a showcase where they come and they talk about their challenge. They do a little bit of selling, but they really let you into their businesses and you can follow along and watch as they grow throughout the month of July. So every Monday in the month of July is the CEO challenge. You can look at mine and bookmark it. You can also Google it, or not Google it, put it in the search bar and whatnot. You have a bookmark? Awesome. Thank you, Forgotten Memories. Forgotten Memories was a season 1 participant. So definitely check that out. This is the reveal week. So this is week 1 where you're going to get to meet every single participant and they're going to tell you about the metric they chose, why they chose it. They're going to, talk about their business and what are they going to do to change that metric in the upcoming month. So the first week and the 4th week are probably my absolute favorite weeks because I don't know what metrics they chose either. I know Crystal's because we talked about it. But if the participant hasn't chose to call me and tell me or put it in a message, I'm just as surprised as everybody else when they reveal their metric. And I'm frantically over here taking notes and writing things down so that we can talk about it throughout the month. But the first week and the 4th week are my favorites. The 4th week is because that's when they... Yes, my love, did you want to do something? Okay, hold on. He's telling me to be quiet, so let's see what he wants to do. He's going to show you how to get to the CSV file. So while he's looking for that, the 4th week is my favorite because that's when we see what growth they have. Let's see here. There's your CSV file. For those of you who are asking where to get it, it's right there for the US one.
And as you can see, as soon as you click the link for the file, it will open in Google Sheets. So you can edit everything on Google Sheets and save it somewhere, download it later to upload to whatnot. But if not, then what you can do is just go back to whatnot and just on this link right here, you can copy the file. And right there it says the option download linked file on the very bottom. I don't know if you can, if you swipe the chat away, you'll be able to see it.
All right, thank you so much for showing us that. And with that, again, CSV, go talk to Crystal. She's the expert in that. She'll help you. But we're gonna go raid Jeremy. Green 13 had the audacity to do a show at the same time my show now. I'm happy he's on. I was torn. I'm like, should I cancel my show? I really want to hear what he's saying. I want to go watch his show. But no, the show must go on even if Jeremy's on his channel at the same time. So we're going to go raid Jeremy. You guys come check me out tomorrow. Check out the Warm Embrace show. Come find some really cool goodies. And if not, come back for our chat and sell on Monday. We always recap our reselling roundtable on Monday mornings. And with that, let's go raid. Keep building the business, not just the show. Were you talking about me? Let's go see Jeremy.